Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're joining me here after I had to restart the video because I screwed something up. But we're playing a little bit of TSW here, and I just wanted to record a little something after last week's video that I made, kind of criticizing TSW2, and I wanted to continue kind of talking about that, and I wanted to address some of the things that I've read on Reddit, on other YouTube videos, and even on my own comment section. And I also wanted to talk about some of the things that I talked about in the previous video in a little more detail, since I actually sat down after the last time I talked about it and played it a little bit here. And because I always like to play every game before I talk critically of it. First things, was just the big elephant in the room. So last week in the video that I made, I really criticized Turn World for supporting the Xbox controller instead of rail driver, Xbox controller and keyboard over a rail driver, which makes things so much easier. And yet here I am playing it on an Xbox controller. And the reason for that is, I said, you know what? I talked really bad about it. I want to give it a shot again, just to see if it's still bad. And yeah, it's still. There's some things about the control scheme here that don't make any sense. That's the wiper button. There's the bell. Oh, you know what it is? I'm like, why can't I move? I keep forgetting. And I do this in Run 8 too. I keep forgetting this switch here. Alright, now we should be able to move. And we're moving. Brakes are all released. Oh, you know what? I gotta recycle the reverser. There it goes. I'm like, why want to move? So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that was covered in the live stream, some of the things I've seen on different Reddits. All my switches just got flipped because, again, the keybinds on the controller don't make any sense. Like, I hit one button to try and turn the bell off, and I turned my lights off. And like, I have no indicator of, there we go, which way I need to move my mouse to move that. I want to make sure I'm centered on here. I'm not even close. So Dovetail Games did do a video talking about some of the stuff coming up in TSW2, and they said, if we don't talk about it, if it's not mentioned in this video, consider it not being worked on. And so one of the things that we have a month and a half left, so I have a list here of notes I took, partially from somebody else and also my own notes from watching their live stream, and I know I'm not centered on the turntable. I do not care. Real life, it matters. Here, this is a video game, it doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and unlock the turntable. I'm not really going to do too much. I'm just going to move this thing around a little bit. At least the controls for the turntable make sense. I want to go this way. I'm going to push this button. I'm just going to move this thing out of here and park it on another track while I talk, because I realize I'm getting really distracted by doing this. This is someone who streams regularly. So, here's some of the stuff they talked about, and I'm going to go down my list. The important parts, basically, are no plans for an editor. So we still probably won't be able to build our own routes. But that's actually a good thing. And the reason this is, the train simulator, the Railworks route builder, is absolute garbage. It is so clunky and just hard to utilize. I can't imagine what a route builder in TSW would look like. I'm pretty sure you'd have to stand on your head to do anything. And this is coming from someone who's built routes in MSTS, where that's even kind of a pain in the dick. That's the brake button. Actually, let's go ahead and apply the brakes. So that way I can just sit back and talk for a few minutes. So, no plans for an editor. Some people are saying it's essentially canceled. I don't think it was ever planned. I think that was just one of those things that they said to sell more copies than originally of the original Trades in the World. No mention whatsoever of multiplayer, so it's safe to assume, because they said if we don't talk about it, assume nobody's working on it. I haven't seen anything come out since then about that, so I'm just going to assume that they are correct, or that is a safe bet to say that we probably won't see multiplayer. They didn't really mention anything either about Steam engines. They talked about, oh, this new engine's going to allow us to do Steam engines, but they didn't say yes or no if they're going to be added. They did kind of skirt around the answer of, are there going to be any third-party routes? They said that there are some in development, but that's all they said. They literally said, we've got some third-party developers working on routes. So it'll be interesting to see. TSW1 routes will no longer receive any support. So there's not going to be any updates, any bug fixes to them. If they're updated again, it will likely be only in TSW2. So if you decide, I'm not going to buy TSW2, and hope that they fix a bug that's on one of your favorite routes or whatever, probably not going to happen. I'm just trying to position the camera so that way I don't have any of that dead space of there's no trees back there. I said, a little side tangent here, I said this the other day, I absolutely think that this is one of the better looking train simulators out there. I mean, Trains 2019 looks pretty damn good, but this actually looks really good. It's just too bad that it's plagued by a developer that doesn't care about user experience and doesn't, I can't even change the mapping on this. So livery designer, and I said this in the previous video, it's going to be a lot like, it'll be pretty much the same thing as how it works in Forza Motorsport, which if you've never played Forza Motorsport, basically you have stickers of different sizes, squares, circles, triangles, half squares, where it's faded to one side, different patterns and stuff. And I think they mentioned like 200 different shapes, and you can change the shape of them, so you can grab a square and you can stretch it out and make it a rectangle, and then you can skew it so now it's a diamond. And then you change the color and opacity, and you put these stickers on in layers, so you can make the CSX logo that you see, right here on any locomotive just by, a half circle or a full circle that's blue with a circle that's whatever the base color is, and a square, and then another square here, and you've got your C. Or maybe you want to do a more complicated shape, you could, do 500 layers and make your face, just like in Forza. So that's kind of what it is. There was a question that was brought up about longer routes, and they kind of skirted around it a lot. And they were kind of like, well, we can do this, we could do this, we could do this. But they couldn't give us a definitive, yes, we'll have longer routes, or no, we won't. But they basically said, we really can't answer that right now. In a future stream, we'll answer it. They've got a month. They're a month away from the game release, and they still don't know if they're going to have longer routes in the game. Like, what are these guys doing? I know someone's going to sit there and say, well, you've never worked on video game development or whatever. You're right, I haven't, but I know people who have, and I've talked to people about this. And one of the things that normally happens is a month before you release a product, you're not still developing that product. And a month before you release it, you're testing it like crazy to make sure it's going to work. You're bug testing it, you're, everything to make sure that the game that you're about to release is functional. So you're not still developing the game a month before release. I picture they're sitting there just, like, oh, can we add this? Can we add this? Can we add this? Oh, we have to put this game on for sale tomorrow. So this is what's weird. The devs, so getting onto their scenario builder that they talked about, They did go into detail saying that you could run pretty much any locomotive on any route as long as the route supports that type of locomotive. So you couldn't put the TGV or whatever electric train that they have on the heavy haul route because, well, the heavy haul route isn't electrified, so you wouldn't be able to run it. But you could put this Jeep 38 on any British route if you really wanted to. One of the things that they said though this is what I thought was funny, is they said it's not a glorified quick drive, but then proceeded to explain it as though it's a glorified quick drive. The idea of being able to put any train on a route, any locomotive on any route, I think is great. It's awesome. It means we could finally have a little more freedom in what we drive. And you basically build your own scenario. So you say, well, I want to do a switching scenario, so I'm going to drive from the yard here where I'm at now and deliver cars to an industry and call it a day. Or even make it up as your own free roam type scenario. But we're not going to get a consist editor. So you're going to select a locomotive, and you're going to select a preset number of consists, and that's all you really have is their pre-made consists. Moving on, they talked about the grade crossings, the train gate, the arms that come down and the bells, the railroad crossings that come down. So those are animated here on Sandpatch grade, but not on all routes. And they're going to remove them. So they're always going to be permanently down, the lights flashing and the bells ringing, which doesn't make any sense. But they said it was for consistency. They were cut from other. This is a direct quote from them. We cut them from other routes because they were chewing up way too many frames. Actually, this isn't a direct quote from them. I'm sorry. This is a paraphrasing of somebody else's quote. I'm reading what somebody else wrote to me, and I watched the stream and I saw the dev say this himself. They were cut from other routes because apparently the animation chews up way too many frame rates, or 2 frames, because it's really coded poorly. Which, okay, if you did a bad job coding it, scripting it, fine. Refine the coding, refine the scripting. If it already is working, I don't know why it has to be removed if it's already working. Who knows? But basically, their exact phrasing was, it sounds like they're going to fix it, but the way they want to fix it is, most train simulators and even real-world railroading, it's a set of detectors that detect current draw across the track. Basically, when there's a wheel on one rail and a wheel on the other rail, a radio frequency can actually be played through there, and if it's picked up through the wheels, the grade crossing can tell, how far away a train is, and activate at the appropriate time. And it has different trigger points where, when it hits a certain trigger point, that crossing is activated no matter what. And this is why if you look near grade crossings, you usually will see a wire going between. You'll have the rails, and then where the rail joiner is, if it's not welded rail, you'll see a wire going across. That's actually to help the carrier signal that goes through there. They send a small electrical signal. It's not actually it's electrical, but it's not just like 20 volts like DC. It's actually a radio frequency that they send through there. Apparently, if you take a speaker with 2 wires attached to it and attach it to each rail, you can actually hear that frequency. It just plays static, but it plays it at a specific rate. Anyways. These grade crossings can tell where a train is, how close it is to them within their trigger range, and will activate and their arms will come down and a train will go through. This is really handy if, say, you're doing switching and there's a railroad crossing right here, but you're trying to deliver to an industry that's right here next to it. You may have the train come up, but not go into the railroad crossing and then go back. So the arms will come down. Oh, there's no train, and they'll go back up. Even though the train is stopped, 50 feet from the crossing, the arms will just stay up. This allows, automobile traffic to continue going through even though the train is stopped. And you see that in quite a few other train simulators. The TRC system in Trains 2000, in Tane and 2019, that's how that works. It just basically looks in one direction and says, is there a train 50 feet away from me? No? Okay, gates are up. Oh, there's a train 45 feet away and it's moving? Gates come down. Oh, that train's now 35 feet away and it's stopped. Gates come up. Super simple. Run 8 does something very similar. It's looking a predefined distance on either side. You got the railroad crossing here and you got the tracks going like this. It's looking at a predefined distance between those 2 points and saying, Is there a train in this area? Yes, no. If yes, gates come down. If it's stopped, up. TSW, the way the dev made it, way Matt's, I almost said Mike, the way Matt made it sound, is they want to tie it into all the other signaling systems, and it seems like they're trying to overcomplicate it. And you know, it just seems like it just seems like they're making more work for themselves than they need to. Moving on from grade crossings, because I can talk all day about those. No graphical changes. They're running the same graphics engine, so I mean the game already looks really, really good. It's not going to get much better. They did talk about some weather stuff, that they can have more dynamic weather, so it might start raining during the middle of a session. I don't know if it already does this in Train Sim World now, because I've only ever done the timetable. I've never really done any of the pre-built scenarios, because I hate pre-built scenarios. Personal preference. No audio changes, so the game will still have the audio bugs where you'll hear outside audio inside the cab of locomotives and whatever. They talked about wet and snow-covered platforms. So when it's raining, which this game again does really nice, that the ground will actually have little puddles and everything will look wet, except for the platforms. And the way Matt said, the way he described it, and I get what he's going for. I just don't see why. I respect that he wants to have that level of detail. I don't see why he can't just just make the compromise and say, you know what, we're going to have them, but they're not going to work the way I want them to, and I'm going to improve them. He said, nope. Train station platforms are going to be bone dry and never covered in snow. And the reason is some of these platforms, you'll have a large area where passengers can stand, but only a small area that has a roof. When it rains, rain comes down or at an angle or whatever, hits the roof and keeps the area under the platform dry, and will get the rest of it wet. Well, currently in Train Sim World, if you tell it to be wet, it's raining, the rain goes through that roof and makes the whole thing wet, which is unrealistic. I'll admit that. However, it's one of those things where you kind of look at it from a video game, you're like, they could have done that better, but whatever. Matt wants to make it so that way when it rains, the rain is stopped by the roof and doesn't get that spot wet. I understand that. So, they're working on it. I'm not really mad about it. I'm just saying, it's either he does it and we get mad at it for not being super realistic, or he doesn't do it and we kind of have to be mad about it not working at all. It's lose-lose on Matt's part, but I'm not mad about it. Next up is a 50-50 one for me, is no collision physics. This means if you crash if you're coupling up to a train and you hit it too hard, it's just going to couple. It's not going to derail it, not going to bounce it, not going to fly everywhere. If you hit the end of the tracks, it's not going to derail your train. It's just going to do whatever it does now. This also probably means that if you drive two trains sideways into each other, they're just going to ghost through each other, which on one hand kind of sucks because it's unrealistic to hit another train and just clip through it. But on the other hand, this is a train simulator, not a collision simulator. We really don't need high-level fidelity crashes. I mean, if you want to do that, go play BeamNG Drive or something, whatever. One of the things that they mentioned, or they didn't mention, or they mentioned is still in the game, which is something that I still don't understand, is mastery. I guess it's something where you play enough scenarios on a map, you can become you earn your mastery in it. That's just a gimmicky gameplay mechanic that I don't understand. And personally, I don't understand it. I'm never gonna use it. I don't know. Maybe you guys have mastered a route and you're like, oh, mastery's great. I don't know. And not my thing. One thing they did say, though, that made me kind of laugh, and this is coming both from playing in Run 8 and building a route in Trains. 40-mile routes are really big, guys. They're really, really big. I say this as a solo individual person building a 135-mile long route in one train sim and playing on over 1,000-mile long route in another train sim. 40 miles. Now, granted, they do put a lot of detail. They put a lot of buildings and stuff in, around the tracks that make it look nice, but 40 miles isn't that big. That's not fun. You can run, if you're running 50 miles an hour, you can do that in 45 minutes. Another thing, so they talked about Unreal Engine. They're upgrading from Unreal Engine 4.16 to Unreal Engine 4.23, and some people said, well, why didn't they go with Unreal 5? I didn't really verify this. I didn't look it up and see for sure, but they said we can't use Unreal 5 because Unreal 5 isn't available yet. It's not out for us. One thing they did say, and I really, really hope they keep up with this, but I don't follow them on social media enough to really verify this, so let me know if I'm wrong when I say this, but they're saying they're trying to be more transparent. Now, in the past, whenever they've done an update, it's just, here's an update. There's no change log, no nothing. Maybe they might say, oh, here's some here's some new features, but they won't talk about bugs. They won't talk about their bugs that they fixed. They won't talk about things that they added unless it's something major. So I really, really do hope that they try to be more transparent and they actually follow through on that. Can I just go to like a free camera and fly around? Yes, I can. Cool. Although I know I'm going to hit like an invisible wall here. Like I've already hit an invisible ceiling. I can't go any higher. Being more transparent and actually letting us know what's going on, I think is going to be great if they follow through on it. How far can I move the camera away from my locomotive before I hit an invisible wall? So now moving on, I want to talk about some of the reason why I think that them doing Train Sim World 2 is kind of dumb. And actually, you know what? To do this, quit the game. Yes. Yes. I want to exit game because I want to go to the store page. Store page. Okay. Because this next part I want to talk about involves actually their business model. So one of the things, and yes, I did give this game a negative review because I'm not happy with it. Browse all. Let's browse all DLC. Actually, no. Go back to the main page. There we go. Buy Train Sim World 2020. It's $30. Okay. So they actually have a really good business model, and they're just shooting themselves in the foot here. So and you're like, well, Kaz, don't you hate their business model? On one hand, I do. On the other hand, I don't. I hate the fact that they'll add more content to the base game. So if you buy Train Sim World 2020 right now, you're getting a better deal than I am because you're getting 5 routes, and I only got 1, and I paid more. That's besides the point. But one of the things that they did, at least with Railworks, is you bought the base game, right? You paid $20-$30 for the base game, and with the exception of, I think, 2016, they gave you a free upgrade to the new version of the game every year. And they could do this because they were charging $20, for the base game, and then $15 to $20 for DLC. So, they weren't selling a $60 new game and then $10 DLC under it. They were selling you a $20 game and then continuing to support that $20 game with $20 DLC, $20 DLC, $20 DLC. And then in 2016, they said, you know what? We did enough updates that we're going to charge you $8. I think I paid like $8 because I bought it while I was on sale. For the update from 2016 to 2017 or whatever version that was. And that's actually, I think, a really good business model. That's a great value for you. It's a great value for, anyone who's buying it. Because you can sit there and say, well, I paid $20 for this game, and I've gotten an update. It's the most recent version of this game for 5 years, and I only spent $20 on it. That's a great value for you. Now, that does lose them money because, you're basically getting free stuff if you don't buy any other DLC, but they can supplement that by selling a ton of DLC. By going and saying, you know what, Train Sim World, we went from Train Sim World to Train Sim World 2020, which I think it was like a 2-year gap between the major updates. Instead of saying, all right, which is going to be Train Sim World 2021, and it's going to be a free update, and you're going to get all the stuff that we're talking about in Train Sim World 2, which would make a lot more sense from a financial point, or from a financial point from all of us, because then it's still a good value for all of us. They're saying buy this new version, because why not? What's going to happen in 3 years? Are we going to have to buy a new version again? Now, one of the counter arguments to that of having to buy a new version every 2 or 3 years that people have said, or 2 or 3 years, one of the counter arguments people have used is, well, think about Call of Duty or Skyrim, or not Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or Halo or Battlefield, or insert any other game that has more than one version of it, that has a sequel or multiple sequels or even prequels. And there's a difference there. A train simulator like this, especially the way they do it, is very catered to you, because you pay $20 for the game and then you pay $20 for the DLC you want. It's also a more open experience, whereas playing something like Call of Duty, Halo, Battlefield, those are more story-driven, episodic things. You're buying a book, and then you're buying the next book, and the next book. Train Sim World's kind of like if you bought a book, and they gave you the chapters that had most of the characters. For example, I'm trying to think of a good example that has a lot of characters. Harry Potter, okay? Well, no, I'll use Harry Potter as an example, but I'll also use No. We won't use Harry Potter as an example. We'll use the Expanse book series as an example. The Expanse is written where each chapter is from the point of view of one character. So you have a chapter where it's, you're reading about Holden. Oh, you're reading about Miller. Oh, you're reading about, Avasarala. Oh, you're reading about Bobby. Oh, you're reading about Miller. Oh, you're reading about Holden. It jumps between all these different characters. The way Train Sim World or Dovetail's done it is they sell you the book, but it only has a few of the characters. And you can read the full story and get everything that happens. You just don't know what happened with these 5 or 6 characters. And then you pay a couple of dollars and they hand you the chapters with those characters. Whereas games like Call of Duty and Halo and stuff, you're buying the full book. They're giving you everything. And then you buy the next book, and then the next book, and then the next book, and on and on and on and on and on. So that's why the example of using Assassin's Creed or Skyrim or Halo or Call of Duty or anything like that is actually not that good of an example when talking about things like this. Now, let's get back to actually, the value here. If I were to buy, let's say this was going to be updated Train Sim 2021, and I were still only have the one route that I have, but I was upgraded to all the new features and functionality, I'd be like, cool. I could then go into the store page and buy any one of these DLCs, and it would still be a good value. But now it's, I'm buying a whole nother game for the price of a DLC, which admittedly that's pretty low. I mean, they said, I think $30, $20-$30, which is pretty low for a new game. But I'm buying it's a barrier to entry. They've put up a barrier to entry to the next version of the product. Whereas in previous iterations where it was you get the update for free, the barrier to entry is much lower, because now you have a $20 purchase and you're into the game. You're into their ecosystem. They've got you. And now you can throw more money at them and get more content from them. You get the game you want, they get their money, they have a customer. Now it's, well, you have to buy this new game, and then you can buy new DLC for the game. Now they're putting a barrier of entry saying, if you don't pay for it, you can't play it anymore. That's not to sit there and say you still can't play TSW. You'll still be able to play TSW. But you just won't be playing on the newest version of it. And I could totally understand if it was, the game had a life cycle of 10 years. Every 10 years they do a paid update or whatever. But making a whole nother version of the game just kind of sucks. It's kind of, I feel like it's saying, you know what, we didn't get enough money from you for the first time. We need more money from you. And who's to say that, next year, TSW2, instead of being updated, is just going to become to TSW2 point whatever. They're just going to say, TSW3, $50, $30, whatever. Who's to say they're not going to do that? So, yeah, that's just my 2 cents. This is going a little long. I'll probably do another one of these. I said in my last video I was going to try and live stream playing some TSW, but I had a hard time doing that just because real life got in the way and everything. And so, but yeah, I have a Twitch stream link in the description below. I do Rants on Friday, iRacing on Wednesdays. I'm going to try and do some kind of random game stream on Sundays or Saturdays, one of those 2 days, just whatever day's working best for me. And you may have noticed, if you ever watched any of my other streams or videos where I usually have a box around me because I'm a pleb and don't have a green screen, I have a green screen now. It's kind of crappy, but it works, and I'm happy with it. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll do another rant eventually. Later.